Hi everybody, welcome back to Mando Lessons. My name's Baron Collins Hill. In this week's lesson, I want to talk a little bit about what instrument you should start with. I get this question a lot. Should I start with mandolin, mandola, octave mandolin, depending on what you're really drawn to and what you think might be best depending on the popularity of the instrument. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about that. If you're looking for more music-related lessons, I've got a website full of them, mandolessons.com. I put out new lessons every single week there on the website as well as here on YouTube. They're all free. Donations are greatly appreciated. There's some links in the description to a PayPal link as well as Patreon. I've also got a bunch of merch, t-shirts, you name it. Not required, but all the links are in the description if you're interested. So, as you may be able to tell from behind me, I have a lot of instruments. It's my job, it's my hobby, it's pretty much everything that I do. I love learning to play new instruments. I love old instruments, I love new instruments, you name it. It's one of my big passions. And I often get questions of people who are looking to get an instrument, often mandolin related. You know, they say, oh, what should I get? Should I get a mandolin? I really love the sound of an octave mandolin or a mandola. And some people say, you know, I'd love the sound of an octave mandolin, but a mandolin itself, just the regular mandolin, it doesn't really do it for me sound-wise. You know, I think it's a little high-pitched, which is totally understandable. The sound of an octave mandolin is beautiful. And they say, you know, I know that mandolins are the most popular and maybe there's the most information out there on how to play them. So I wonder if picking up an octave mandolin right away without starting with a mandolin is going to inhibit my ability to learn. In general, my answer to that is you should really just pick the instrument that calls to you most. You know, when I was starting to play music, I also had this same question. I heard a mandolin on the radio and was like, "Oh, I don't really know what that is. It's not a violin, it's not a fiddle, it's not a guitar. What is that?" And ultimately, my friend was able to say, "Oh yeah, that's a mandolin. Here, let me show you some chords." And I sort of got my first little mini lesson on playing mandolin. But one of the thoughts that went through my head is, oh, should I start on mandolin or should I play guitar? Because guitar is, you know, there's a lot more information out there. More people play guitar. It's easier to find lessons and teachers. And ultimately, I'm really glad that I learned to play the mandolin because at that time, the guitar didn't really call to me. And I was totally wild about the sound of the mandolin. So every time I picked it up, I was like, oh yeah, this is the sound that I'm excited about. So, you know, nowadays I also love playing guitar, but I think if I had started with guitar, I would have said, oh, okay, like, I like this sound, but it's a bigger instrument. I was a little kid at the time. It didn't really kind of fit my style, and I think it would have ultimately deterred me from learning. So I'm making this point to say, I think the thing to do is if you really are drawn to the octave mandolin, by all means, you know, pick it up, go for that as your first instrument if you're really drawn to that low sound. Can't blame you. It's a beautiful sound. And octave mandolins are more available and there's more options out there now than there were 20 years ago when I started playing. I would say the same thing for a mandola. The only caveat is that it's tuned differently. So with an octave mandolin, it's tuned just like a mandolin, G, D, A, E, just an octave lower. So all of the resources on my site, you know, you can read the tablature if that's your style. The only thing you have to adjust for is the longer scale length using different fingers in your left hand. But with the mandola, it's tuned C, G, D, A. So you can't read the tablature and have the tune come out in the same key. Everything will be in a different key. So if you're playing off of the tablature and the tune is in the key of G, on a mandola, it'll come out in C. So you can't do that sort of one-to-one connection of tablature to fingers. That said, if you learn to read music or you're just working on the tune by ear, you know, you may have to adjust the octave and how high or low the tune is sounding, but you can totally still use my lessons and just adjust. You might be playing in a different octave in the same way that you would on an octave mandolin versus shifting way up the neck on the mandola to play in the exact same octave as the mandolin. I think the greatest way to really progress on an instrument is to really love the sound from the get-go, have a nice clear vision of what you like the sound of, where you're hearing the particular instrument in ensembles. So if you love the sound of a mandolin, you know, I heard Nickel Creek and Chris Thile as a little kid and was like, whoa, that's the sound for me. I didn't hear a guitar and say, whoa, I really want to play guitar. And I think the more focused and the more obsessed you can be with a particular sound and a particular instrument and a particular style of music, the more focused your practice will be, the more you'll be inspired to play, and the more time you'll spend with the instrument, and you'll progress quicker. You could make the argument all day that, well, you could start with the mandolin rather than the mandola because there's more resources out there for it. But then you could say, well, there's more resources out there for the guitar than the mandolin, so maybe you should start with guitar. Then you could say, well, the piano is actually the classic first instrument to learn, so might as well start with that. And then you've got a giant instrument in your house that you may never actually be all that inspired to play. So along those lines, I definitely think that, going right for the instrument that really is captivating to you is the way to go. In my experience, it really is the best way to actually progress on an instrument, is to be really excited about it. And however particular the instrument is, the internet is a big place, and there's people out there that are willing to share what they know and help you learn whatever the instrument is that you're excited by. That's all for now. Thanks so much. Again, this was just kind of a talking lesson, but I wanted to get it out there because I have people email me this question all the time. If you're looking for more music-related lessons like tunes, songs, and other mandolin techniques, check out my website, mandolessons.com. You can subscribe here on YouTube. I put out new lessons every single week. I also do live streams most weeks, so those have been a lot of fun lately. Hope you're all having a great new year, and as always, have a great time, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.